Okay, so I'll start it off. Good afternoon. My name is Melanie Pernice. I'm one of the co-chairs, and Tara Brown is with us as well. You're there.
Hello, all.
Okay, good. So welcome to our VALOR BERG meeting, and we're going to combine it today with a Veterans Day celebration. So next slide, please. Here's today's agenda. So we'll start off with the pledge. Mr. Tagney will do some welcome remarks. We're going to have a presentation from our military liaison services. A really exciting presentation from Palamine. Tara and I will go over some VALOR BERG updates. We'll introduce our keynote speaker, which is Randy Howard, and then we'll end it off with some closing remarks. So if everybody would like to join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, you can take yourself off mute if you'd like, and we'll begin. So ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next slide. So we're going to welcome Mr. Eugene Tagney, who's the Senior Vice President and Chief Business Continuity and Crisis Management Officer of Construction. So please welcome him.
It was close. We had a little update that. I got to update my slide. It looked like I'm 12 years old. But first of all, I want to thank everyone for your time today coming together to really celebrate an important day in the organization. I'm blessed to be one of the executive sponsors. My co-sponsor, Jill Shulman, is online with us. But I just a couple of words. Really, today we come together to honor the service and dedication and valor of all the women and men who selflessly served our country. Freedom is not free, and certainly the sacrifices today offers us an opportunity to pause for a second to reflect on that sacrifice. As an organization, I think that we have to take a few minutes to stop and reflect how blessed we are to work for Northwell in this date and time. Northwell has, as I look through Twitter today and follow the different social media platforms, you see a lot of companies put out pictures and celebrations and words, which is great, and to see that. But to be part of an organization that focuses on Veterans Affairs 365 days a year is special. And we hope today to pause for a minute and reflect on some of the special things that we're doing as an organization. And I'm looking down at the names who have joined us. I know mostly everyone. We're blessed. We're blessed to be part of an organization that has put veterans and veterans' concerns on a spotlight, that has invested in it, that from a board and CEO perspective have fully embraced it as one of our community arms and community pillars. And to do that in a way and have celebrations like we've been able to have over the years, and now this year open up, begin the opening of a physical center, celebrate the side-by-side, have a business employee resource group, and the biggest part and the biggest differentiator that we have is not just to focus on the veteran, but that we've created programs that focus on the family and the support structure of our veterans, which I think is a differentiator for us and makes us different. And it's really proud to stand up here today. I think it's almost 15 years, and Juan always corrects me, that we've been doing veterans programming. And a lot of people don't know, Joe Shulman was one of the early executives working with Randy to start this program out of Zucker Hillside. It started out in the behavioral health space, but now it has moved into employment, education, housing, and behavioral health, physical health. The amount of pillars that this organization is focusing on is really endless. And then to really celebrate the Berg and the VALOR BERG and its mission, and I really want to congratulate Melanie and Tara for their leadership here and what they do. In keeping this Berg fresh and updated and the ability for us to go out together this summer and take care of the memorials as a group is just a testament to their leadership, and I thank them so much for what they've been able to contribute. And then lastly, we have a lot of people on this call who did serve, and my heartfelt thanks to you. Your dedication and your passion for your country and for what you believe in is not only an additive to Northwell, but it makes us special because our focus on hiring and our focus on development and working with individuals who made the ultimate sacrifice, whether it's losing a limb or having traumatic brain injury or dealing with the physical effects of their and mental effects of their service, we become a safe haven for that development and health, both physically and mentally. And we're really excited about it. And then lastly, congratulating our Military and Veterans Affairs team, led by Juan Serrano and his team, really making a day-to-day difference, doing some incredible work, and a lot of that you'll see coming out over the next couple of months as you hear the stories and the impacts that division is making. And lastly, being recognized as a military-friendly employer, as a place that people come to now to learn how to do this. And I challenge this group, as I do every time we have this meeting, is to go out and make a difference in this space. Don't be passive. Just don't read the post. Just look at social media. Don't go to just one or two events. Try to make a difference out there. And the big part of us is that this organization happens to be in a location in the country and in the state that has an incredibly high density of veterans. So I believe Suffolk County, and if Juan's on, he can correct me if I'm wrong on this, or Randy or anybody else who has history in this. But I believe Suffolk County has the most veterans, has the highest density of veterans than any other county in New York State, which again is another blessing for us because that's our home turf. And what an incredible opportunity to touch so many lives and so many families. So I pause to reflect. I think about my dad on this day and the service that he did in Korea, and the toll it took on him, both mentally and physically, and on our family. I think about my grandfather who served in World War II. I think about the legacy of service in our family, and I'm so proud to be part of this today. And then I look at the legacy of service that all of you have done and the indelible marks that you've made, not only on our country, but what you make every day in our health system. You just make us better. And at the end of the day, we can look in the rearview mirror and look out and say that we touched or affected one person in a positive way. And if I had to tell a story about it, I could tell a story about each one of you that's listed in the chat. So I thank you for your service. I thank you for the love of your country. And I thank you for the support of Northwell and what we're doing around Veterans Relations and Veterans Affairs. And again, we're in the middle of this book. We have a lot more chapters to write. So I look forward to working with all of you. And I'm really excited. And I thank Randy for his time today as being our keynote speaker, because I know Randy's history and I know the man he is, and I'm honored to be able to share some of this day with him, and to hear him talk today about his passion for country and service is going to be very exciting. So Randy, I thank you for what's yet to come, and very honored to work with Joel Shulman as the co-executive sponsor of this, who we'll hear later in the program. So Melanie, thank you, and back to you.
Hi, everyone. It's Terry here. We can go to the next slide, Andrea. And thank you so much, Jean, for those opening remarks. We are very lucky to have you and Joe as our executive sponsors. You've been very supportive from the very beginning, encouraging as always. And thank you again for the kind words that you had just said. So one of the things that Jean had just spoken about was the military liaison services the new service line, and all the pillars that they touch upon and the programs that they're going to have. So I would like to introduce Ann Buda, community outreach specialist, and John Kelly, social worker for the military liaison service line.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. I'm not sure if my team members are actually here because we just came from a couple of other hospitals and we're running into the call, so I might be doing this on my own right now, so forgive me. But it's a pleasure to be with you all. it's Happy Veterans Day. It's been such an amazing day to see the love and support around Northwell. We are continuing with this effort, and we just appreciate today those that have served and those that are continuing to serve. So it really is a very special day, and we wanted to share a presentation with you to just let you know where we've been in the veteran space and where we are now. And this way, you all will know how to contact us in the future should you be, working with or treating a veteran, and know that we're out here as a resource for you. So with that, if you give me a second, I left my mouse in Huntington, and I'm now working with my laptop. So just one second.
And I'm here, Ann.
Hi, John.
With my seatbelt on, pulled over 2 blocks from my house.
Okay.
I'm also here, Ann. Don't worry.
Thank you, guys. Okay. All right. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
We do.
Sure do.
Okay, perfect. All right. So, John, did you want to start us off, or would you like me to kick it off?
No, absolutely. I'll be more than happy to. And, just to echo what Jean's remarks, Northwell has been in the veteran space for coming up on 16 years. So you were right, sir. It was 15, but we are coming up on 16. And it started with the Rosen Family Wellness Center, located in Rego Park. And we continue to raise and, elevate our commitment to the veterans, their families, and the entire community as a whole. And we opened up the Behavioral Health Center and the Unified Behavioral Health Center, which really marked the milestone for the first public-private partnership, that's a mouthful, with the VA as well as Northwell Health under one roof, where a veteran and their family can actually walk into the same facility, and the veteran can be treated by the clinicians on the VA side, while the family works with the Northwell clinicians. It's simply just by making a left. And when the time is right and it's conducive, we move them together to continue the healing process. We've also implemented programs like the Pay Differential Program, because our veterans don't, they shouldn't have to worry about the finances, where their family is taken care of. When they answer the call and they go overseas, they're made whole. I hate to say it, but Uncle Sam does not pay nearly as well as Northwell Health. And why should that be a burden for someone that's answering the call of their nation and make their family whole? So we do that. The barracks to business. We're in our communities. We're going out there, and like Jean said, Suffolk County is super high. I believe we're up to about 150,000 Marines in Nassau and Suffolk alone, 250,000. I might be skipping slides at this point, but we've got quite a large veteran population and their families, and it continues to grow day by day. So it's side by side, a celebration of service, moving forward to be our nation's #1 second opinion, with a partnership through the VA and the Department of Defense. We're utilizing our care coordination model, and quite frankly, the future is now in some aspects. Both DJ, myself, and Angelica, we're out there. We're proactively reaching out to our veterans. We're asking them what matters to them, really, and we're trying to connect them with those resources, whether it's simply booking a follow-up appointment or connecting them with a community-based resource. Our whole goal is a holistic approach, and that's the care coordination model. And you want to take the next slide, please?
Sure.
Fantastic.
So we really wanted to wrap our arms around our veterans with all the love and care and support we have within Northwell. And so we created this space, which is in Belrose. And, you know, it's beautiful. And our hope is to one day, hopefully in January, to be able to open these doors to the public and, you know, be able to provide clinical, behavioral, and employment services in this space. So, you know, anyone that is a veteran, a service member, a family member can feel free to come and visit us and make an appointment. And as we all know, sometimes there's not more than one thing going on with the veteran. You know, they called for one service and there's multiple issues going on. And here in this space, we hopefully will be a place where they can feel at home and comfortable, and we can be able to provide all these services under one roof. Which brings us to, similar to what Jean was saying and John just touched upon, you know, some numbers. We have 250,000 veterans that are in New York City, and on Long Island, there's 150,000 veterans. 60% are in Suffolk County and 40% are in Nassau County. You know, we have a lot of veterans to treat, and we are here for them. So we have this pilot study that John was going to quickly brush upon.
Yeah, absolutely. And the pilot study started in 2018, where we really wanted to get a better understanding of where we sit in the veteran space, who's utilizing our emergency department. And, you know, there was a RAND study in 2017 that actually found that the veteran community was the #1 community utilizing EDs across our nation. So why is that? So we needed to understand that. And we did a pilot study with 3 hospitals: Manhasset, Long Island Jewish Valley Stream, Long Island Jewish Actual. And, you know, we learned a few things. You know, as you see on the PowerPoint slide, you know, we learned a little bit about their coverage. But what really stood out is the most, you know, common ailments that brought them to the ED in the first place: GERD, shortness of breath, headaches, panic attacks. These things can be treated and managed at the primary care level. So when we reached out to all 3,700 respondents in a 30-day period, 3,700, that really speaks to the volume of veterans living amongst us. And I bet you there's quite a few people on this call that either did serve or know someone that has served. These people live in our communities. So understanding that, you know, they're using the EDs, which is really not designed as a long-term solution. So where do we go from here? We'll start with the next slide.
Yeah.
It's really the Military Community Care Coordination Model, MCCM, because we love acronyms in the military. It's the idea that how can you treat me if you don't know me, right? I like to use the term "been there, done that, got the T-shirt." There's a language that's spoken, you know, amongst the veteran community where we truly understand each other, and there's like almost an instant connection. So it helps that both DJ and I are Marine Corps veterans, and what we're doing with our first pillar, the exceptional care, is we're proactively reaching out to those that identified utilizing our healthcare system. Currently, we're pulling from the HIE, and we're able to see the clinical viewer from 3 different hospitals: North Shore, Huntington, and Long Island Jewish, currently, with more on the way. And what we're doing is we're partnering with, you know, discharge planning. We're partnering with social work and the case managers, really not to duplicate their efforts, not to step on anyone's toes, but really just to complement the extraordinary work already being done in our facilities day in and day out. And it's really a post-discharge holistic approach where DJ and I can conduct the needs assessment and find out what else is going on in that veteran's life. You know, if I had $1 for everybody, I'd probably have about $15 to $20 at this point. But for everyone that is currently sitting at home while their significant other is in an acute rehab, well, we got to support them too. Because think of, you know, the anxiety, the fear of not knowing what's happening to their loved one. we're letting them know that they've got a friend in Northwell, also with military service, also a veteran of service in general, with speaking about and we're continuing to work with them. Looking forward, we're going to be more formalizing our department with the addition of a medical director, a behavioral director, as well as a nurse practitioner, case manager, that's going to be able to orchestrate any transfers, and then the care coordinators. And that's the first pillar, with lofty goals of creating 3,000 new appointments in 2022. So not only are we, decreasing the unnecessary, ED visits, but we're also increasing the volume back into the service lines. And that's important from the business perspective. And you want to say a few words about life after service?
Sure. So the second pillar being life after service, and that entails employment. So we are looking to really enhance the amazing work that talent acquisition is already doing, but really raise the overall experience for the veteran service member or family member, I should say, that is looking to come in and be employed by Northwell, and those that we are looking to retain. And so we conduct these career exploratories, which are about half hour, 45 minutes long. We go over their resumes, we go over the application process, and we make sure that they are prepared. They're prepared for the next level, they're prepared for the interview, the resume is on point, they're actually qualified for a position. And you know what? At the same time, realizing not everyone is going to get hired. Not every veteran is going to get hired, but they can become a patient within Northwell. So during this time, and part of our case management, skills entails, finding out how, with the veteran, how is everybody? How is everybody in the family? How is everything going? And oftentimes there's other things going on. And so we work as a team to generate this back into our care coordination and potentially then become a patient of Northwell's. But the ultimate goal, of course, is to get them hired. So, today was a great day to go out, to our healthcare system and really put out the message that we are here, that if, hiring managers and hiring recruiters, have people that they're looking for, please, consider hiring a veteran and look to us as a resource for, folks that are ready to roll in that area. And then we have the third pillar, which is innovation, headed by Antonio Silveira. And there's two tasks that we're focusing on, which is training our frontline workers, which goes back to the above concept, if you don't know me, you can't treat me. So the first task is training frontline providers on what is a veteran. And these are the individuals that are seeing veterans and service members that are coming into our facilities, because not everybody is a soldier. You have to understand that there may be somebody from the Coast Guard or the Navy. What are some of the common ailments that they have from their service? How helpful would it be for a doctor to know this ahead of time? And the next piece is the hiring managers and the recruiters. Like I said, we want to hire veterans and service members. They have all those soft skills that we want in our workforce. So it's important that we're training our leaders and educating them. So we have two staple events. We have our side-by-side amazing celebration that we're really looking forward to, and one that we've done a few years now. And this year we're teaming up with HR. So we'll have a week-long event, leading up to our concert. And we have our military appreciation event, which usually occurs on Veterans Day. This year, because of COVID, we had to put that off. But next year, we're hoping to get back on track with that. And then two other events. And these events are going to be opportunities for Valor members to be able to participate as much as they want. They just need to contact us, let us know that you're interested in volunteering, and we'll make sure that that we work with you to be a part of that side-by-side event. And so we do have a video to play because in 2022, we are going to be back to a live ticket event. So with that, DJ, literally, DJ, can you, will you be able to share our video?
That's me. Sure, go. Let me go ahead and jump in. I will start sharing my screen. It's already queued up. All right.
Allow volume.
Volume is there. Let me get rid of this. Nobody wants to see themselves. We'll go ahead and make that bigger. And then, all right, here we go. Enjoy.
Side by Side is a celebration of those people that put their lives in danger through their service to allow us to live the way we live.
You know, it's important that we celebrate their service. It's not only important, it's right. The people who serve us are just like us, human beings. They laugh, they cry, they celebrate.
I love music. I mean, any genre, Gavin, Neo.
The fact that frontline workers are being honored alongside our military.
Over the years, growing up in New York City, there was always the question of why we have all these service members in uniform around May.
All of this is about celebrating community in a way. It's about celebrating trust. It's about celebrating hope.
This right here is the most important room that we played in our entire career. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for your service.
The last 2 years have been different for our society. And in 2020, Side by Side had to be conducted in a different way. A documentary film was put together, but we still celebrated the idea of service.
It's not what happens to you that matters, it's how you react to it.
Feels like war, it really does. When you're battling every day and not knowing what you're walking into.
At Javits Center, we have the largest incident command in the country, and all these doctors and nurses from the military came together.
Figure out how to look at the chest x-ray on the machine, get the labs from some crazy place.
I really want to thank you for your service, and you're a true hero. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Quest, and thank you for your music and your jams. It provides a little fun for us.
Where did all the people go? And they got scared when the lights went low. I get you through it nice and slow when the world's spinning out of control.
We are now in the building that replaced the buildings that were knocked down on 9/11. It just shows you that no matter how bad things are, you come back.
This is why it's called the moment of truth. Yeah.
We're 18 bedside nurses that love to sing.
Oh, these are real nurses.
I was just as frightened as everybody else. But you know, our job was to rally the troops, and so that's what we did.
Today, history unfolded in the city as a Queens nurse received the first vaccine in the United States.
I didn't know I was going to be the first.
You know, Northwell's been helping veterans for the past 15 years. We open the door and say, come on in.
Just to know that there's someone out there that actually cares and is invested in your success as a human being.
Hi, Steve. This is John calling from Northwell Health Military Liaison Services. How are you today?
When a family member serves in the military, it's not like they can turn it off once they leave. It becomes part of the culture of the family.
There's a way to get better.
Not saying that we're not mentally strong or that we can't handle it still, but not having somebody that understands what we're dealing with is very tough on a lot of people.
When I came back, I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress. I still have it.
The stigma in the military is that if there's something going on up here, well, then I'm broken. It's a sign of weakness.
It's not a question of saying to them, what is the matter with you? It's asking the question, what matters to you?
My aim is so true. I want to show you how.
We will be here next year. You got to be optimistic.
I'm never gonna say surrender.
Thank you so much, Anne, John, and DJ. Thank you so very much for that. That was great.
Well, thank you for having us. And please, yes, if you are a veteran or a service member currently listening on this phone call and you would like to be a part of Side by Side, please give us an email, and we'd love to invite you to the event this year.
Okay, great, thank you. And we'll make sure to send that out on our Teams and our Yammer and also our email. So I would now like to introduce Dora Lupo, who runs a Palomine program out east. It's an equestrian therapy program. Myself and one of our other Valor members had the privilege to participate in one of their military and veteran groups. It was really quite an experience, and the way the therapy works, I found really interesting. So without any further waiting here, we'll go right into Dora. Dora, do you need to switch over to your screen?
Ourselves off mute. Hi, everyone. Are we on? Do we switch? Can you see us?
We can see you. We can't see your presentation.
Okay. We'll start introducing. Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm a licensed social worker here at Palomine Equestrian.
Hi, I'm Dora Lupo, and I'm the clinical coordinator here at Palomine, and I oversee all of our military programs. And the other member of our team here is Reggie. I don't know if you can see her. She's getting a little bit ornery. We took her inside because we couldn't figure out how to do this with the technology outside. So she came in the office. But this is how we work when we do our programs. We always work in a team. There's always a mental health professional and a certified equine specialist, as well as a horse. And our first words that we always say to our clients or anybody that comes in and participates is it's about safety. It's about physical safety and emotional safety. So that's part of how we work with our military programs. We have what we call Fall-In Fridays. Oh, there we go. So that's our horse Cajun. He's kind of our military sponsor. He seems to be attracted to all of the individuals that come in that have service experience. As Tara said, we're located out east at exit 58 in Islandia. We have a full spectrum of programs. We work with individuals, we work with groups, we work with families, we work with children, and we do all of our programs are at no cost to the military. We work through grants. We have a grant from the Veterans Administration to do groups and individuals using the equine, the Egalo Equine Therapy program. And what they're doing also is that as that's happening, we also have the government, the Veterans Administration, is doing a study to see how equine therapy is helping veterans with PTSD. So, next slide. Okay, so the first question is, why horses? Horses live in the present. They're prey animals, so they're always aware of what's going on in their environment. They're very intuitive. So what happens is that when an individual starts working with the horses, even if on some level they're afraid of horses or they're not comfortable with horses, they learn to feel what it's like to be grounded in the moment. Horses provide honest, non-judgmental feedback. Horses read what our intention is, not what we're saying. So we look for a discrepancy in the words versus how somebody may be feeling. An example of that is that some individuals are not consciously aware of how their anger may be impacting their lives with their family or on their job or etc. But like saying, I don't feel angry. And we will notice perhaps horses behaving in a different way. There'll be a lot of movement around that area where the horses are either moving their feet quickly or they do not connect with that person and won't feel safe because of what's going on with that person. We then do it in a very gentle way because it is an experiential model, and we'll ask the question of what's going on with that horse. And what happens is that the individual might say, well, oh, they're acting like my wife because I come through the door and all of a sudden she just walks away. So they're working, they have the ability then to shift what they're doing and maybe make some changes in a way that will impact their life, both in the present and then going out into the world. So clients become aware of what they're doing unconsciously and then have options. With equine therapy, there's very little talk. It's all experiential. So it really helps with individuals that are not comfortable with therapy or have spent many, many years in therapy and they have not been able to experience a shift. Their PTSD is still driving their life. They still have medication that to work with the symptoms. And they simply don't have the coping skills to be able to change what they're doing. So actually the ability to be able to work in a paddock outside in nature. You have therapists that are standing there in jeans and sweatshirts and hanging out on a post, and they're not sitting across the table and asking questions around, well, what do you think you should do? And having people trying to figure out what their next step is. They're actually working it out. They're actually doing things, the dynamic and the process of what happens in their world. The equine therapy is really a supplement and a support to any kind of other individual therapy. It's usually when people are stuck or they're at the impasse or whatever's happening, there's no changes. If we start doing the in conjunction with the therapist, then that helps the individual to be able to do things differently in the world. We have an MOU right now with the Northport VA, and our last group was a group with women veterans that were struggling with MST, with military sexual trauma. And what we found with that group was that over time, the individuals were able to build self-esteem and confidence and be able to shift their relationships in the world in ways that they had not been able to do in the last 5 years that they had been in group in-house. So it was something that was really very magical for them, and we didn't do it, the horses did it. Mm-hmm. They connected with the horses and they connected with each other in ways they would not have done in a more structured environment. So I think Tara mentioned, being here, it's just being, out in the open. We use everything. We use nature. We have donkeys, we have horses, we have mini horses, we have chickens. I mean, everybody's going to identify with something different. It's very interesting for us to see how our clients come in here. It's been my experience that our military members or even the members from the police department will walk over and choose the biggest horse on the property because that's what they think they should do to be able to work with them. So Rachel is a horse person. Could you just talk a little bit about the dynamics of what goes on with that?
Sure. Are we sharing our screen? Can you see the slideshow?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. I just wanted to make sure. So one of the programs that we do run here too is natural horsemanship, and it's speaking to the horse in their language. And what happens with that relationship as it starts off is you can have someone who comes in and, as Dora spoke to, working with a 1,700-pound animal. So if you're not familiar with horses, that might be the size of a Clydesdale, of what that looks like. And what we find is that clients are able to tap into becoming grounded and having a connection with an animal that is non-judgmental. They're not asking anything of you or from you. And that allows the client then to be able to just feel what they're feeling and in a very safe space, and they choose the pace. So if they're not ready to become totally connected, we can at least say, let's put hands on and connect to breath. And just that first layer of putting hands on, we found that so many people have the layers get peeled away a little bit quicker, because connection is something that we're all looking for. And with the horses, they do that in such a beautiful way. And when they feel energy being transferred from a human to them, they can then give an immediate reaction, or they can hold space for them as well. And we found that translates much easier and to a much longer lasting effect than human to human, and us trying to say, maybe you should work on this, or this is what we're seeing. They tell them right away.
So we've been doing this work with veterans here at Palomine for over 10 years. As been mentioned, that Suffolk County has one of the largest number of veterans that are here and on the East Coast. Most times for individuals to come into treatment, it's very difficult. Nobody gets up in the morning and says, whoops, I'm going to go to therapy. They usually end up in therapy when there's a crisis, or their body starts telling them you need to look at something different. And we have found that because it is such an open space and we don't do a lot of talking, we allow the process to unfold, that more of our clients, particularly the military, they're more comfortable with doing. They're more comfortable with connecting. And we always run parallels between how humans live in teams and how humans live in families, and horses always live in herds because it's that basic need to belong. So there's a lot of parallels that go on between how humans connect and how horses connect. And that's always brought out to the individual. And they start noticing. They start noticing on the horses who comes together and who doesn't, how they move. And then we relate it back to what's going on in their life. One of the things that is really important here at Palomine is that every person that works with the military is certified to work with military, which means that we have been trained in cultural competence, very proficient in traumatic stress. Was there's a lot of, we're noticing what's happening is that we're getting participants that are coming in with moral injury. That's very difficult to hold space out in the world. The reason that the model that we use, there are a number of equine therapy models out there, but we have chosen here to use what is known as the Egalo Model, which is an international model. And it has a criteria. We have to work it as in a team. There's always a licensed mental health professional there. There's always a certified equine specialist, and the horses or whatever four-legged animal we choose to use is part of our team. It's always on the ground, which means there's no riding involved. There's all the movement on the ground. It's solution focused. We start every session with the belief that everybody has their own answers. So we don't offer suggestions. We don't give people answers. We allow them to just kind of come to their own solution. And it usually is right. It's what they need. There's less time trying to figure out what your therapist wants to hear or what you need to say in order to be okay or not judged, when somebody is just left alone to find a solution to whatever situation arises. This particular model also has an ethics committee as part of the program. And the ethics committee is in place in order to ensure that the integrity of the model, and whoever is saying that they use the Egalo model, is actually staying within the boundaries of the criteria of the training. We have also various programs are military designated through Egalo, which means that you have done the cultural competence, which means that you've worked with veterans and had veterans as patients for at least 5 years, that you have the education in order to work with trauma and PTSD. And that certification, actually, Calamine is the only equine program on the Northeast that is military designated to work with this population. All of our models, when we use this model, we do individual sessions, we do groups, we work with family members, we work with children. I mean, some of the children, don't have the verbiage to be able to say what's going on with them. We have a program called Marching with the Minis, where we have the young children working with our mini horses, and they're able, in a very, again, non-judgmental play area, be able to verbalize some of the situations that may be going on when they have a parent coming and going and then coming back into the house, and then the parent is maybe changing in different ways because of what's going on with them. They have their space. They're not telling us or an adult, so to say, but they'll tell the horse. We'll leave them alone to go tell the horse what their story is and what's happening. So equine assisted psychotherapy. And again, you might hear we do equine therapy all over Long Island. So there's a question of, is this the kind of place where you just go and you ride and you put your hand on the horse and then everything is fine? Or is this a facility where they actually have licensed mental health professionals as part of the process? It's kind of a discrepancy to say horses are healing and horses are help with PTSD, and they bring out all of these things, these feelings that you might have, and there's not a licensed mental health professional in sight. So that's very important to us to be able to have the qualified staff around. The natural horsemanship is a wonderful way for people to just get present in their body. A lot of our veterans are trained not to pay attention to what's happening to them, to just react in the moment to their surroundings and not be consciously aware of what's going on in their body. So that was Reggie. I didn't do anything bad. They're able to, it builds self-esteem. I mean, it's very self-esteem building when, individuals sometimes feel as though they can't do what they used to do, and they haven't found anything that they're comfortable, proficient with, or able to build their self-esteem. You start moving a 1,400-pound animal and you start building self-esteem very quickly.
And the beautiful part about natural horsemanship too is the ability for the client to come in and choose at their own pace what they're willing to do, give, take, or receive that day. And it's really a beautiful dance between the two participants. And our Fallen Friday program highlights that. Our veterans are able to come in, they're able to get hands-on, they're able to groom their horses, be around their horses, get comfortable with sometimes just the size, the smell, the space itself. And then they're able to go into an open area where they get to work with their horse, team up with somebody, or it can be one-on-one, and then with a facilitator as well. And again, at their own pace, choose, it's almost like choose your own adventure. They're deciding how much they want to give and how much they want to receive. And that doing part is, it's a nice way for them to be able to still do something, but not actually, have to move their body that much, or they can choose to.
We talk about holistic healing, and that's really what this process does. It really incorporates the body, mind, and spirit in order to be able to find answers and help people connect. A lot of what comes out and what we work on is boundaries, trust, not having to speak. I mean, some individuals come in here with such stories that they don't believe that anybody can hear it. They don't want to share it. They don't want to put this this horror on other people. So we have them take the horse for a walk and tell your horse. The being able to say it out loud into the world is a very healing experience. I invite you to do in this PowerPoint. We have put a number of websites here where you actually can see individuals. We have some of our veterans. We made videos of them so you could see the process. It's sometimes not easy to just do this. So what happens is that you need to see it. So what I do is that I invite everybody to look at the website, to look at the YouTubes, and come to our Falling Fridays. And if you're interested, we are open to do a demonstration to everybody, so you can have the experience yourself. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for presenting this wonderful program. Thank you. So we're going to move on. We made some minor adjustments due to time constraints here, but I'd like to introduce our other co-chair co-executive sponsor, Joe Schulman. He's the Senior Vice President for Population Health and Business Transformation. Welcome, Joe.
Great, thanks, Melanie. Thanks, Tara. Thanks, everyone, for gathering here on such another important kind of occasion. Obviously, in honor of Veterans Day and all of our services. Hopefully, you can hear me pretty well, Melanie. I just want to make sure, and in the interest of time, I'll be brief, but. So first of all, I believe we've been remote for quite some time, and we've been leveraging Teams for quite some time. If I'm not mistaken, and perhaps by a show of an emoji, that's the first live horse I think we've ever had organizationally on Teams. I know, at least for me, I don't know if anyone else has ever had a live horse on, but if you had, it's really impressive. But that was terrific. Thank you very much. So I have the honor to introduce our keynote, Randy Howard, and I'll certainly do so in a moment. There are a few acknowledgments, and my goal is not to overlap with a lot of things that have already been said, but certainly just the gratitude. I mean, I've had the honor to be associated with launching and standing up our Office of Military and Veterans Liaison Services since in the about 2009, and even a little while before that. And it doesn't happen, certainly, just to reiterate, and my deep appreciation on behalf of the organization, it doesn't happen without Michael Dowling's vision, leadership, and support. This was our charge from Michael, recognizing how the most important members of our community are those that protect our way of life and this country. And so that was the charge, and there was a team and a coalition developed to stand up the division, and it doesn't happen without Michael, Mark Salazos, and Mark's support, dedication to the cause, as well as, and then Gene Tagney. I could say that what was mentioned earlier, I believe John mentioned our Unified Behavioral Health Center in Bayshore. I can tell you there were moments that we were organizing the planning and the program around that site, around that location, and that initiative, and that does not occur without the courage and the support from Gene Tagney and many others. So just as another example. Also, Blaine Greenwald, Dr. Greenwald, who is the Executive Vice Chair of our Behavioral Health Services and so forth, and Psychiatry. Blaine Greenwald was integral into the launching of our services, both at the office and the initiatives. Melanie, Tara, deep gratitude. You have been just tremendous in the capacity of co-chairs. You have elevated this Berg and these efforts to great heights. And then also certainly Juan and John and the team of the office, military and veteran services, you are taking this to another level. We had moonshot thinking, we had a concept, we had ideas. Never did we imagine after watching that video that we'd reach such heights, and it's a privilege and an honor to have been associated and then to support this work over the years. And then there are those that paved the way. Andy Roberts was also followed our Keynote as the leader of our Office of Military and Veteran Services, and worked very closely with Andy, and deep gratitude for Andy. And then it brings us to Randy Howard. Randy and I met as part of the interview process, and when Randy was being considered for the position to lead our Office of Veterans Liaison Services, and it was really clear, myself, Chantel Weinhold, someone who was also integral in the past of launching our services, that Randy was the leader that we needed. Randy was the leader that brought incredible professionalism. He brought the tremendous experience, insight, talent, intelligence, and also the presence to be able to really elevate something that's so important as the care for veterans and their families. And that's what we needed, and it is because of Randy paving the way that we're here today. And so with that, let me introduce Randy Howard. Randy is a healthcare exec. He has over 30 years of experience. And prior to joining our health system, Randy served 20 years in the U.S. Army as Medical Services Corps officer. Randy retired in 2004 as lieutenant colonel, served in healthcare leadership positions at many and various healthcare organizations all around the world. And in 2004, Randy went on to assume the duties of Field Ops Director for HealthNet Federal Services, which is the health services organization that partners with the Department of Defense, deliver TRICARE, which is the key military healthcare program that covers nearly 3 million beneficiaries. Randy joined us in 2009 as our inaugural director of the Office of Military and Veterans Liaison Services and the administrative director of the Rosen Family Wellness Center. And in that role, Randy essentially aligned our health system services right at the beginning to better meet the needs of our military and service members, veterans, and their families, and the entire community. And most recently, Randy was the deputy executive director, chief operating officer at Huntington Hospital from 2011 to 2020, and led several and a number of very complex services throughout the hospital, and then key capital construction improvement programs at that hospital. And today, I'm so proud to then introduce Randy in his current capacity as our senior vice president of corporate facilities services, and essentially Randy having full responsibility for our Northwell facilities and construction portfolio. And so with that, I will leave the roast to another time of Randy Howard. This is not the time nor the place, but Randy, deep gratitude to you, obviously admiration, and thank you for being so incredible. And to you, Randy.
Joe, thank you so much for those incredibly kind words and glowing intro. That's much appreciated, and I'll definitely review the recording for that. And you know, while he was talking, it's funny, I had an epiphany that things go in full circle when towards the end of my tenure in the Military and Veterans Liaison Services, we were putting together the Unified Behavioral Health Center down in Bayshore. And I said to Joe, 100,000, we're all in a couple months. And we got the final from Facility Services. It was put a 0 on that and add a few months.
It is so true. It does go full circle, right? It's all yours now.
Now I own it.
It was always the change orders. Anyway.
I know, right? It's always the change orders. You've probably heard my name mentioned, bantered about with that. So again, thanks, Joe, and Melanie and Tara, thanks for putting this on, and all of your great leadership with the first Berg of Northwell. You guys have brought it to a level I don't think any of us thought possible. And Gene, again, thank you to all your support and guidance during these many, many years. And to Michael and Mark, really, they have been instrumental with all of this. So it's just incredible. It's been a journey, and the journey's still going. And Melanie had asked me to talk about my journey. So there's a few chapters to that, but I'll probably focus more on the beginning, and then a little bit towards the end as well. And maybe there'll be a few more connections like the one that I just made. And also happy Veterans Day to all the veterans that are on this call, and to any of you who have a veteran family member or friend as well. And I know all of you do. So it's a great day to recognize military and really be thankful to be in a country like this where we have our freedoms and brought to us so much by our members in uniform. So my connectivity with the military is almost ironic. I was, as a youngster, between the ages maybe of 8 and 10, the Vietnam War was raging. And of course, you couldn't help but catch all the news snippets on our three news channels at the time, CBS, ABC, and NBC. And it was just nonstop. And so I actually had dreams of playing in our backyard, playing Army, but then I couldn't get up, couldn't walk. You know, I had somehow been hurt because it was real war. And it wasn't traumatic, it wasn't, life altering, but it certainly left a mark where I would then start counting down, when will the draft affect me? Because we were still in the draft era during that time. It was shortly thereafter the Vietnam era thankfully ended in 1975. And then not too much further after that, the draft went away and became an all-volunteer Army. So as I grew up and went to high school and aspired to, really realize my potential, I went to college. I was accepted into Boston College and was having a great time there, but noticed the challenges that, like so many of my colleagues in the Army and other military branches discovered, the challenges of paying for a private college. And one of the ways that people would help offset the cost is to apply for an ROTC scholarship, which I did. I didn't do that till midway through Boston College. Really had no other connectivity with the military up until that point, until at the very last minute, very last day that I could apply, I submitted my application to be considered for a scholarship. But because I had not participated in any of the ROTC activities up to that point, I had to go away to basic camp, which was interesting because I had never been really outside of Massachusetts, and I had never flown in a plane, and had to fly down to Fort Knox, Kentucky, where they had active duty drill sergeants that would just roll us in just like we would be some of the other enlistees that they would have, some of the new recruits that they had. And it became quickly apparent to them, and they made it quickly apparent to me, just how much I didn't know what I was doing and how undisciplined I was. And I quickly learned how to come around to their way of thinking. And from that point on, things really clicked. There was a certain cadence to life, and not just the marching or running cadence that you have, but there was a sense of cohesiveness and organization, and really the ability to excel if you wanted to. I recognize that if you really wanted to do well there or anywhere in life, you absolutely could. And so I put my best foot forward in basic camp to compete for that scholarship. And on the very last day, they announced the winners of those scholarships, and I was fortunate enough to win a 2-year scholarship to pay most of the remainder of my 2 years at BC, which was certainly a financial relief to me, and more so to my parents. So I was the last one out the door, and their reserves were depleted. But interestingly, at Boston College, they had firebombed the ROTC offices off campus back in the early to mid 70s due to the Vietnam War. So because of that, I had to go to Northeastern University for my ROTC classes in leadership training, which we went to in our battle dress uniform, our BDUs, our camouflage. So I would go to and from school in my BDUs, thinking in the back of my mind, what would happen next as I was on this very liberal campus. But interestingly, I was really embraced by all my friends and peers on BC, as well as Northeastern, which of course had it there for a long time. And it was really helpful as I started to forge out what I would do in the out years. So I definitely studied hard, worked at what I thought was important at the time, and it ended up being the right things. Applied for certain schooling as well as a cadet, such as Airborne School at Fort Bragg, rather. And then there's an advanced camp through ROTC as well that you go to before you'll be commissioned in the Army. So, and of course, the irony of going to Airborne School is that was my 4th through 9th ever in my life airplane rides, all of which ended in a jump and not landing. And I also at the time was deathly afraid of heights, but our instructors, known affectionately as Black Hats, certainly help us overcome those fears quickly. I also did something that certainly surprised my family. In ROTC, you can do a few years of active duty, and then you generally would go back into the reserves because it really is a reserve component type training. But there's a few spots for regular Army, so you're just full-time active duty from start to finish, and you go until you're done. And so I applied for regular Army and was accepted, so that I received a regular Army commission into the Army, which I was thrilled about. And it really spoke to, I certainly am a little competitive. So as they dangled those carrots of certain schools or regular Army, I was only too happy to jump. It was at the next juncture, though, where they said our regular Army graduates go to the most challenging places, which I was thrilled about. And of course, the one I was assigned to at first was Korea, which is a great place to be. The only challenge was my wife and I were engaged to get married the following year, and so we had negotiated to see if there was anyone interested in going. When I went off to officers basic course down at Fort Sam Houston, and there were a bunch of people that were interested in going to Korea, and one gentleman had Fort Bragg as his assignment, and I was really excited to go to Fort Bragg, home of the 18th Airborne Corps and 82nd Airborne Division. So we switched, and it ended up being the right decision, I think, some 36 years later. So things working out well at home still. So at Fort Bragg, it's a great place to grow as any type of soldier that you want to be. It's really a soldier's place to be, and usually the units at Fort Bragg are really first up. Interestingly, my timing at Fort Bragg was impeccable. I came into Fort Bragg about 8 months after the Grenada invasion in '83. And then while I was at Fort Bragg, we had a lot of great training opportunities and really developed some doctrine for being able to insert medical units close behind the front lines. So before, you're used to the episodes in MASH where the hospital is located a couple miles behind the front line of the troops. We were developing doctrine that's doctrine today where you would insert a very comprehensive surgical package that can be parachuted in and set up in a matter of minutes, only hundreds of meters behind where the action is. It's called the forward surgical team. So it was a great cutting edge type of tent or type of outfit that allowed us to do all types of definitive surgery, ICU level care, with full type of anesthesia, using latest generation of oxygen generation and power generation as well, to be able to provide really world-class surgery in the field. And again, back to my timing, it was, I had left Fort Bragg, transferred to Fort Sam Houston for what's called the career course, which really teaches you to be a company commander. And I departed there about 4 months before that forward airborne surgical team jumped into Panama. So timing just incredible. So while at Fort Sam Houston, I really started to get a sense of what I wanted to do next, which was I love that mixture of both field and fixed type environments. So I did a company command program down there where we had trainees for learning how to be combat medics. And the medics would come down for a 12-week program, learn how to be a combat medic, and most of them would deploy right away to many hotspots around the world. And through that, really learned a little bit about myself, learned how to really what some of the basic leadership tenets were in terms of leading yourself, followership as a leader. When I really had some great leaders both at Fort Bragg and at Fort Sam. And then what it means to lead soldiers and really be a selfless leader and a servant leader through all that, because it really takes that cohesive unit to be hugely successful in everything you do. At completion of my command, I was then accepted into what's called long-term civilian education program for a master's program in health administration. It's the Army VALOR program, which is a great comprehensive 2-year program, 1-year didactic, 1-year residency. And when you know it, in the middle of that, the first Gulf War kicked off. And so to all of the frantic calls I would get from my mother or mother-in-law or grandparents about, was I safe and okay? And I would tell them that, you know, I was very much buried in training, a very expensive training that the Army doesn't want to interrupt just yet. But if you hear that I am deploying to the Gulf, that probably is a good sign for you to really start praying, because things really would be problematic at that time. And they really wouldn't want us to go and do that. So from there, I really saw a different part of the Army and really a different part of the world as I traveled around the world to different installations, Heidelberg, Germany, Walter Reed Army Medical Center, Triple Army Medical Center, Fort Drum, New York. And there were really some amazing people that I ran into, amazing leaders, as I was refining my leadership skills that really had selfless leadership front of mind, that people that really cared about me and really cared to make a difference in my life if I wanted to listen to them and take heed of what they were talking about. You know, of note, I also learned a lot of that through diversity exposure. I had the pleasure of working for and working with many people of color, and of course, different genders, right? My last 3 commanders were females. I worked for the first 2-star female in the Army Medical Department, Major General Nancy Adams, who I'm in touch with up until today as well. And these were people that were really gritty, selfless, compassionate people that really drove the ethos of the Army and what it meant to serve, and really helped continue to form the person that I am today, and really getting a sense of purpose, a sense of service, and a sense of you know, what do you want to do to make a difference. In just a quick digression, when 9/11 hit, we were in Hawaii at the time, and just about the entire leadership chain was at a conference in Japan, except for me. It was I and then a very senior Navy leader at the medical center who spent endless hours with military decision matrices figuring out how we were going to get people into and out of our hospital in the middle of 9/11, because we were one of the 2 highest valued targets for terrorists on the island of Oahu. It was us and the Helikoa Hotel on Waikiki Beach. These were targets that would invoke the greatest emotional toll on Americans. And we really forged some new processes and policies and friendships over several tense hours of figuring out how do we still get these 80-year-old patients that need interventional cardiology. How do we get these babies delivered? How do we take care of these hot appendix rather, and whatnot? So it was really forged a new thought process on delivering care in an emergency situation or crisis management in, for instance, in Jean's new role. And Joe mentioned I retired after Fort Drum in 2004, and still with that military connection and really still wanting to serve, I did go work for Health Net Federal Services for 5 years to help continue delivering on the promise of healthcare and setting up networks across the region to really make it easier for military members and their families to access care. And again, the areas that we needed the biggest help on were behavioral health. So we did some unique partnering, not too different than what we did at the Unified Behavioral Health Center down in Bayshore, with the local providers in Watertown, New York, to develop a behavioral health clinic on Fort Drum for the spouses of the most deployed division in the country, which was the 10th Mountain Division. The spouses needed incredible amounts of help. And then we developed one off campus down in the town of Watertown for the military to visit, so that we can get care to all of them. And it really worked out great. And then I stumbled upon this recruitment. Actually, a friend of mine stumbled upon this recruitment for North Shore Long Island Jewish Health System. And they were looking for master's prepared military experience, behavioral health, administrative experience, wanting to grow a program. So I interviewed with Chantal and Joe and Blaine, and we all hit it off and we clicked. And I had no idea what I was getting into. I really didn't know that much about North Shore LIJ, but obviously not being afraid of change, and my wife and best friend and soulmate, was all in. We took the plunge and came down to then North Shore LIJ. And when we hit the ground, it was just amazing. You've heard all the accolades, but to be able to employ my skills, both from education and training and military experience, was a home run, was a dream come true. And to work for someone like Joe or Blaine or Jean or Michael and Mark was incredible, because when we would present ideas, especially to Michael and Mark, about, do you think we should put together this unified behavioral health center? Do you think we should hire some behavioral health professionals for Fort Drum who can't find them? Their response was always, why haven't you done it yet? It wasn't a yes or no question. It was, let's do it. Which is just so inspiring and speaks to the culture of Northwell and everything we do. And it really speaks to that we can do anything we put our minds to. It's been a blessing to be part of Northwell and continue on in that vein. And I've had very many similar positive experiences, not just obviously in the Office of Military and Veterans Liaison Services, but up and through to today It was just 4 years ago this last month that I was fortunate enough to lead the medical team during Hurricane Maria recovery efforts down in Puerto Rico. And again, certainly a lot of that connected to the experiences that I've had in the past as well. But we're not in this alone, and it really requires all in by all of our teammates, great leadership like the leadership we have here at Northwell, great teammates like we have here at Northwell, and everyone rowing in the same direction. So I again thank you all for your service and for everyone putting together today's events. I wanted to give you some thoughts on my journey and kind of tie in how it all came around, and especially highlight to Joe that now I know why it cost so much to build that clinic after all.
What an incredible story. Thank you so much, Randy, for sharing your personal journey with us. And again, thank you for your service. And I was stationed at Fort Sam and Walter Reed as well. That's interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to compare notes on what dates.
Exactly. They were one of the best duty stations too. But thank you so much. I'd like to.
Randy.
Oops.
Look, go ahead.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Tara.
I was just gonna say thanks again, Randy. Yes, I second what Melanie was saying. We really appreciate you coming on here and sharing your story with us. And now moving towards the future of Valor. So some Valor Berg updates. Next slide. All right, so just so everyone knows, from November 2020 to November 2021, we have recruited 54 more members. So that brings our active members up to now 439. We're always looking to increase membership as well as activity amongst our members and our facilities, just as Jean had mentioned. So in order to do that, we definitely need more site leaders. The more site leaders we have, the more sites are active, and then this could lead to things such as a little competition between the facilities, who recruited the most members, who's doing the most activities, and it also will get us away from doing everything kind of centralized, because right now we're more in the central region to try to get northern and eastern and western all together. So this would help spread out the activities as well. So the site leader's responsibilities would be the following. Everything you see here: attending Valor meetings, creating opportunities for networking, community building, brainstorming, communicating to the site team members. And we are currently accepting resumes for these volunteer opportunities. Some people have already volunteered. So I'd like to point out Justin Michael from Southside, from Lenore Brathwaite, and Beaches Pereira. So thank you to them for stepping up and saying they wanted to be site leads. And those individuals, we will be reaching out to you to connect with you to help you kickstart your Valor team there. If anyone else is interested, please put it in the Yammer group. That's another thing. We started the Yammer group on Teams. It seems to reach a lot more people that way than just the regular emails. So please let us know via that way that you're interested in having a site lead. Okay, next, sorry. All right, Melanie?
Thank you. So we had a idea forum, and the ideas were presented. The Valor members actually voted on them, and one of the top ideas was a veteran memorial cleanup. So we finally implemented it around Memorial Day. Next slide. We won't play the video in interest of time, but we actually collaborated with Randy and the Greenberg, and it was a very, very successful event. Got a lot of senior leadership attention, and also county executives as well. So we're planning in the spring to do more collaborations like that. Speaking of collaborations, though, we've collaborated with talent acquisition. So I want to thank Jason Clark, who is no longer with us, but and also John Lucido. We've done a bunch of events that you can see here. Next slide, please. And then I'll let Tara talk about the other collaborations.
Yeah, we've been talking with Mayor Bellison. If you remember from last year, we were talking about launching a PTSD series. So we've been working out the details with that. Mayor has also been very, very busy in a lot of other projects at the time too. So we are going to be hopefully kicking that off in the beginning of next year, 2022. One thing I really want to point out is the Women's Berg and Katz Institute for Women's Health, that partnership. We are doing a women veterans health initiative to try to identify and determine the specific healthcare needs and accessibility for women veterans and women in the military. And then with that information, if there's any gaps, if there's anything that we can, collaborate with the VA on, we want to bring that back to the leads of our key service lines internally to assess how Northwell Health can help to improve outreach, to improve healthcare for this group in our community. So we do have a survey that's out there. It's on Yammer. Again, we have sent it out in emails. We are going to be closing this at the end of this month, though. So we really would like to get more women veterans to take it. So as we said before, Suffolk County is the largest veteran population in the county of for New York. So let's try to get this out there. I'll put it on Yammer again, so please spread it out. And the community partnership with the Bethpage Armor Museum, Melly, actually, you could talk to that a little bit more, and you know the details of the. You're muted.
Sorry, it's an ongoing partnership. They give Valor members a hefty discount if you wanted to see their reenactments or just go into the museum. They'll just take a small donation. Oh, we could go on to the next slide. So please let us know what your sites are doing to observe. Use our Northwell Valor hashtag, post on Northwell Life so we could celebrate the events that happened today. And next slide. And we're going to end it all by just thanking everyone for being here. Thank you to our Valor members. We're not only here today for our Valor meeting, but to honor our service members and just remember their sacrifices they've made and the courage it took to defend our country. Thank you to all the veterans and service members for answering the call to duty. Also, thanks to all the family members and friends of any service members, which a lot of our Valor members are. We know that you've lived through difficult times and have taken the heavy load on at home. So we appreciate everything you've done. And just think about it, only 1% of Americans in the US are military and 7% are veterans. So you should all be honored to call yourself heroes. We're very proud of you. And thank you to the 463 Valor members, but I'm seeing in the chat there may be more after today. And just thank you for attending. God bless you, your families. God bless our troops. And of course, God bless America.
Thanks, everybody.